Mikaela Shiffrin, the athlete, but then also the business entity. And he handled everything that went into that, sponsor contracts, everything. He was like the CEO of me.
So it's a great pleasure to welcome our next guest, Mikaela Shiffrin, U.S. Olympic skier, three-time Olympic medalist. Mikaela, what was happening in your world when the entire country was put on pause there?
My world had sort of already come to a screeching halt because my dad had just passed away unexpectedly in the beginning of February. So I was racing over in Europe, got a call that my dad had an accident, and my mom and we were in Europe together, and we rushed home and then spent all of February at home trying to just figure things out. I guess there's a lot, but that's the best way I can really explain it, is just trying to kind of get our heads on straight. And during that time, I was trying to ski a little bit, trying to get back into training. And then I ended up at the end of February, I ended up deciding to return to Europe for the end of the ski season. But right along that same time, we were starting to get, the news about the virus was starting to be pretty concerning. So I know we had some races scheduled in Italy, in one of the most infected areas. And I was thinking with my team, we basically decided that I was going to go over for some races in Sweden, and then I was going to come straight back home and skip the races in Italy, whether or not they decided to have them or not. And they ended up canceling those races. But so we flew over to Sweden in the beginning of March, and we were over there. It was Wednesday evening, the day before we were supposed to have 3 races, Thursday, Friday, Saturday race. That would have been my first race back from after my dad. So I was like, I don't know. I guess I was nervous. I was excited. I didn't really know what to think, but I had made it that far, gotten all the way back to Sweden, which is not the easiest place to get to, and was sort of ready to step into the starting gate again. And like 8 p.m. that night, one of my coaches sent me a message and said, well, the races are all canceled. And then it was like, that was right around the time that the president had announced restricting travel. So we were all thinking, we have to get home. So that's where I was when all of that kind of went down, when they started Italy had been locked down by that point. A lot of different sports had basically canceled their entire seasons, and NBA, NCAA, pretty much everyone. And that basically is what happened with ski racing too. The organizing committees and kind of overall governing body canceled the rest of our season, and we just tried to get home. And then I've been home in my house since then, pretty much.
So what's been the biggest blessing of this unexpected time that you've now got to spend back home?
I think that normally during this period of time in the spring, I would have pretty much just gotten home from the end of the season, and I'd be maybe taking a little bit of time off, maybe doing some media. But like right around now is when we would be probably in California, like Squaw Valley or Mammoth, doing a ski camp, doing our spring training camps. And I think now that I'm going through this process, to be honest, my family, we're all still reeling from my dad. And I think we will be for a long time. But one of the most difficult things we're facing right now is trying to, like I had said, getting our heads on straight, getting life back in order. making sure bills are paid and the finances are covered and the taxes will be paid properly, and all of these things that my dad managed, not only, you know, as kind of head of household, but also for me, you know, I'm sort of like Mikaela Shiffrin, the athlete, but then also the business entity. And he handled everything that went into that, sponsor contracts, everything. He was like the CEO of me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a pretty good understanding of everything that went on, or I thought I did. And it turns out I didn't. I had no idea the extent of everything that he did. And my mom and I and my brother, we've been just kind of taking a crash course in finance, economics, taxes, pretty much anything that you like don't want to mess up. Not the kind of thing you want to just like learn on the fly,
Yeah.
but we are. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And as I said, what normally I'd be going to a ski camp right now, and pretty much all of my effort, my focus, my energy would be going into skiing every day. And I think that if we had not been forced to sort of lock down in our houses at this time, I probably would have had to cancel those ski camps, because this is sort of stuff, I need to get it done. I need to understand it and, you know, become my own CEO in a way. And the only way to do it is to do it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Tell me
So
about it.
that's kind of what this is providing for us. It's providing like almost an excuse to be home and stay home and just kind of plug and chug every day. And I think that's something that I'm very grateful for, actually, in just to have this time to get everything straightened out. But man, what a terrible way to be in this position on so many different accounts.
I'm with you. And in all times, and more specifically, probably in really hard times, how therapeutic is the mountain, is skiing for you?
Yeah, you know, when I first got back on snow in February, a couple weeks after we had the celebration of life for my dad, and I really, at that point, I didn't know if I would be able to ski again this season, if I'd be able to race again, to what extent I'd be able to get back at it. But I wanted to try. So I went out and did some free skiing, and it felt good. It felt like I love skiing, and that hadn't changed. And that my team was here as well. They kind of just stuck it out and were basically just waiting for me to say, all right, maybe we could try to get in some gates and see if we could have more of a normal training session. And we ended up getting to that point. And I ended up feeling like training, you know, being out on the hill, not just skiing, but actually training, was the place where I felt the most like sane. It was the place, like, skiing was something, as I said, or as I have said before, it started out as this family passion. And my dad absolutely loved it. He loved skiing. He raced when, you know, in college, and he loved taking pictures of skiing. He loved everything surrounding the sport. And it's always been a place where I can feel his presence even when he isn't there, even when I'm traveling with my mom and he's not able to be there. He's back home working. So I still always felt that connection. And what I found was that getting back out on the hill and getting back into training for both my mom and me, she's one of my coaches, we felt like it was a place that provided like a sense of security in feeling the closeness to my dad, but not feeling so close that it was painful, because it also kind of provided a little bit of a distraction, or like a reason to focus on something else. Mm-hmm. And that was that. I think getting in gates, there were some days that were really hard and I felt really guilty to be continuing you know, when he can't, but I sort of grew pretty quickly to just appreciate that time, because as soon as I got off the hill and, you know, went home, like you just feel incredibly sad otherwise. So it was important in the beginning of the healing process, I'd say.
Yeah, and Mikaela, I've really fallen in love with your music.
This is a message to everyone in pain, to anyone who has now lost everything they had to gain, to the world in a time of strife and need, to the people out there trying to fix all the pain they see. We want to thank you, and we're sending all our love, even though we know in times like this that's not nearly enough. But we see you out there keeping this world spinning around. So I'm writing this song in hopes that you can hear me now. We are with you, even if we are apart. We will mend your broken hearts. We will hold you close, and together make it through. We are with you. We are standing side by side, giving love and strength to fight. And this message overdue. This is a message for you.
Just getting ready for this interview, I've been watching a whole bunch of your songs, and I see that that's a big part of you. How do you lean on that when times are tough? How does that sort of get you out of holes mentally?
Yeah, I mean, music's one of the most important things in my life, and not necessarily making music, but this is something my dad used to say: music is something that humans can't live without. Like, back in the beginning of time, there was some form of beat or rhythm, or using, you know, humans using their voices to create a tune or a sound or something. It's become an ingrained form of like every different kind of culture or religion or ethnicity. Like, music is everywhere, and it's something that I don't think people could really survive without. And I definitely feel that, you know, like any kind of genre, any kind of if the melody or the tune speaks to me, then I could play a single song on repeat for days, months. Literally, I could listen to a single song for an entire race day if it feels like it's speaking to me in that moment, and I have. And like my kind of passion for guitar and piano and learning to kind of make my own music or play covers of songs that I like, I got to a point where I was listening to some of my favorite songs, specifically, well, not specifically, but like I remember listening to a Kygo song and thinking, I wonder how this was put together. I wonder how, like, all the different instruments, or like, I mean, I wonder how it all came together, and what, you know, when you break down that track, what did it look like? What were all the different layers of it? And that's kind of a lot of times that's how I think of music, is like piano, like kind of classical style as well, especially if it's just a piano. I'm sort of like, I wonder how that would look, and how it sounds, you know, kind of live and in the moment when you're playing it. And I feel like music also gives you like access into a person's brain and into their soul. Like, whoever wrote that song, whoever made that, at any given time, you can feel what they were thinking, what they were going through. And I don't know, it's like reading the most amazing book you've ever read or something. You get a feeling from it that's really hard you can't explain it, you just feel it. And then that's something that I've grown to really love. And I enjoy kind of picking apart songs and trying to figure out how in a way, like how somebody got to where they got to with it.
Mikaela, what is your, I think people understand your training routine when you're on the mountain, and they don't understand it, but they can at least watch it and go, okay, this is how this translates to what she's going to be doing in competition. How about when you're off the mountain? What are the most important exercises? Like what separates the good from the great in your industry?
I think we all pretty much do the same things in the gym. Some maybe spend more time biking and doing more cardio-based workouts. My general workout plan is it's a lot of strength, a lot of kind of high intensity intervals, and then mixed in some sort of longer endurance or cardio workouts, but and a ton of core strength. But I think that's pretty much, as a ski racer, it's like you just have to be the strongest and most well-rounded general athlete you can be. So most ski racers like can run pretty well and generally pretty good, more sprinting, maybe less like long distance running, but like to bike or mountain bike, have pretty solid like weightlifting technique. And just you kind of have to work every single muscle group, and arms slightly less, but even that, you just need to have a really solid leg strength, solid core strength, solid upper body strength, everything. And that that hasn't changed for quite a long time. I don't think it really will change. So I don't think there's any like secrets to whoever's at the very, very top step versus whoever might be, third or fifth or 10th. We're all doing the same things. I think it's just, it's sort of about the efficiency in which you do those things. So, how much emphasis you place on being able to recover to then put more, quality effort into your workouts, into your training, and how much time you might spend training on snow, and how focused you are during that time to really make improvements with your technique and whatnot. So it's not so much what we're doing, but maybe how you accomplish that and how effective it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll get you to this is our lockdown lightning round right now. When was the first time that you can ever remember thinking that skiing may be the only job that you'll ever have?
I don't think I ever felt that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you want to do after skiing?
I have no idea, but I don't know. I loved science in school. I also love like interior design. I kind of figured that out in the process of setting the house that I'm in now, buying this house and designing it. I also love that. So those are two completely opposite things, but like I have a lot of interest. So I don't think I ever thought I'm only going to be a ski racer and that's it. I just felt like I'm a ski racer. I am a ski racer, and I'm a ski racer now, and I'm just going to do this as long and as well as I can.
I love it. How about your greatest motivation? What would you say that is?
It kind of sounds like cliche, or whoever's watching is going to be like, come on, blah, blah, blah. But I think my greatest motivation is like the feeling of getting better. And that includes winning. Winning is a huge motivation, but I've always been more excited about a day of training where I feel like I really I figured something out, and I got to take a bunch of runs and kind of reinforce whatever that thing was. And then if I'm able to put it into a race, then that feels even better. But the feeling of like figuring something out, it's not even just with skiing. It's like, it could be with a Sudoku, or like right now with, I don't know, like keeping track of the expenses or something. And I figure something out and I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. I feel like that's such a good feeling. So that's generally my motivation.
Yeah, the goal is the journey, not the destination. All right, this is our final one here. If I made a pie chart of your quarantine schedule, by far the biggest chunk of the pie would be what?
The biggest chunk would probably be like me working on my computer, which is kind of not that exciting, but like
Yeah.
learning how to use Excel.
Oh, your honesty is off the charts, my favorite thing. So you're like becoming an accountant. You're learning how to really do all this stuff, huh?
Honestly, after this, come to me for your tax questions. Well, come to my mom for your tax questions. Come to me for anything you want to figure out with Excel or finance. Just kidding. Definitely don't. But yeah, I'm becoming somewhat of a mini guru there. I'm psyched about it. I mean, I'm learning a lot. And then otherwise, my next biggest chunk though would probably be drinking tea.
Okay, now that one I can relate to. Well, Mikaela, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Continue taking over the world. I'm now an Instagram follower, so I'll be tracking you every step of the way. And please stay safe as we go through this.
Thank you too.